part of your virtual art course, you are still working in Module 5. So under Activities, you are going to scroll down to where you see Lessons. Once you click on Lessons, that's going to take you to the different modules that we are working in. Remember, we are skipping over modules 3 and 4, Color and Space, and we are still working in Module 5, which is Texture. So click on 5.01 Texture. Last week you did parts A and B. This week you will be working in part C, which begins on slide 12. So under the slide numbers, I am going to go to slide 12, where we are going to begin reading about mixed media, which is going to be your project for this week. So you are going to read through slides 12, 13, 14, and 15, and then on slide 16 will be your next art project. You can scroll down and read the directions for the studio time. You are going to use the texture that you created last week to make your artwork on this week. So you will need the photograph from part A last week, the dried texture background from part B, a pencil, marker, scissors, and you're going to use several materials to create your artwork with this week. So you can click on the ideas for materials, and it will give you a list of different materials that you might choose to use, like scrap paper, magazine pictures, photos. You could use different coloring materials like colored pencils, paint, markers, crayon. You might have some scrap fabric or yarn, or you might even come up with other materials that I didn't mention, like you might have some colorful straws in your kitchen that you could use, or toothpicks. If you look around the house, you might be able to find something that might work really well in your project this week. You're going to gather up all your materials, and you are going to redraw your artwork from part A last week onto your textured background that you created. Some of you might have created a background that looked like concrete or a brick wall. And that is the only art project that you need to submit this week. When you start your texture project this week, you'll want to go ahead and hunt up all your materials. I have crayons and markers and construction paper. I even got some aluminum foil and parchment paper. I found a container of buttons that I'm using. I found some old wire in a cabinet. I even found a straw that I'm going to use. I've already lightly sketched my bumblebee that I'm going to be using on my brick wall texture that I made last week. I have already cut out some wings from the parchment paper that I'm going to go ahead and glue onto my bee's body. So for this week, you're going to be using lots of different materials. That's why this project is called a mixed media art project, because you're using more than just one material for this week's project. I've already cut my bee out of yellow construction paper. So I was worried that marker or crayon might not show up very well on my brick wall background. So I cut my bee out of construction paper. I'm going to attach my straw to be the stem of the flower. have a black marker that I can draw on the construction paper with. And to finish up my little Busy Bee texture project, I have cut out a couple of leaves out of construction paper that I'm gluing onto my straw stem. And I am still going back and outlining a few areas with my black marker just to make them stand out a little bit more. And once again, you can see that I used my brick wall textured background that I created last week, and I put my same bee on the brick wall, but this time instead of drawing the picture and coloring it, I used multimedia. I used marker, parchment paper, construction paper, straws, wire, and buttons. But you can use whatever materials you have at your house, and it's perfectly fine if you decide to color your picture with crayons or markers. If that's what you have, use what you have at your house. To submit your artwork this week, you will need to take a photograph of your finished art project. When you go to Module 5 Texture, you probably submitted last week's work, Part A and B, under 5.01 Texture. So this week you can submit your art project under 5.03. Remember, to submit a project, you click on the icon that looks like a piece of paper with a square in the middle. This is where you submit your art projects. So once you click on that icon, it will take you to a submission box. In the right-hand corner, you will have a plus sign. You click on the plus sign to upload files or photographs, and you can always submit more than one picture or more than one piece of artwork in a submission box.